Hey everyone, this is Grace, and this is going to be my how-to video using manipulatives. And in just a second, we're going to go over the standard that I chose and the manipulatives that I selected. But first, I just want to say that even though the topic may seem a little bit childish for us, we do have to remember that we're teaching it to kindergartners. So even though the concept seems simple, I'm still going to be talking to you guys as if I'm teaching you how to teach this standard, because that's the goal of this video. So in this how-to video, the grade I've selected is kindergarten, and the standard I chose is under the cluster heading of comparing numbers. The standard says, identify whether the number of objects in one group is greater than, less than, or equal to the number of objects in another group. And you'll see throughout this video, I don't use the greater than or less than sign. After talking with Dr. Winters, I originally did this video, I wanted to do like an alligator, and he wants to eat the side with the most Skittles, but after talking to Dr. Winters, I realized that the state is kind of doing away with this, language in the standard of having to use the symbols. So in this video, I'm really just focusing on if students can count the number of objects in the circle and if they can compare which side has more Skittles versus less Skittles, or if they're equal to one another. So that's really what you'll hear me talking about more in this video. And the manipulatives that I chose are Skittles candy. I'll go over that a little bit in the next video clip, but I really just chose them because to me they're no different than those little bears or cubes that you would use in school to count, but they're a lot more fun and engaging for students, and they're colorful and they're easy to manipulate and move around when it comes to counting. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this how-to video and demonstration. So let's review the manipulatives that I chose. I chose Skittles candy. I have them in just an original bag here, but if you're using them with your students, you probably would want to get individual sized bags so the students can handle the Skittles and they can eat them afterwards if they choose so, but just for demonstration's sake, I just have the regular bag. And the reason I chose Skittles as my manipulatives are they're colorful, they have different colors, and I don't see them as being any different as those colored bears that you would use in school, or the little mini cubes, or the red and yellow number counters. These are tangible physical objects that can be moved around by students and manipulated depending on the scenario that they're given. So that's why I chose them. I personally use them in elementary school, so it stuck out to me to this day. I thought it was so fun to get to use Skittles in class. And it's really cool because you can tie in the time of year to mathematics. For example, October is Halloween, obviously. So this would be a special treat for your students during the month of October. Or you could just use this when your students are doing really well in math and you want to give them a little reward. Obviously, you don't want to use these manipulatives all the time because that would be expensive on your end, and you don't want to just have an incentive of candy every single time you're doing math. But it is a fun way to get your students engaged. And obviously you want to be aware of your students' allergy concerns, all of that, but just for demonstration's sake, I chose Skittles for this video. So in this first example, I'm going to show some ways that students can choose to manipulate the Skittles in order to make sense of value and the problem that they're being asked. So you would want to start off by telling students every Skittle, no matter what color it is, has a value of 1. 1 Skittle equals 1. Off the bat, my IMTC student who's a kindergartner might say that this group is bigger just because it's more spread out. But you would really want to emphasize to students that they have to work with that one-to-one correspondence, and they really have to be precise and attend to precision in order to be able to compare numbers correctly. So students could physically tap on the Skittles as they're doing their one-to-one correspondence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they would know there's 8 Skittles in there. And then they can move over here and do it a different way since these Skittles are arranged a little bit differently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So as we mentioned before to our students, 1 Skittle equals a value of 1. So even though these two Skittle groups are arranged very differently, they both have the same value of 8. So I would personally take this time to work with my students on writing their numerals, but they should be able to see that 8 is equal to 8, and these two groups of numbers were the exact same. Both groups had the same amount of Skittles. So for the next example, you could pose a problem to your students and say, can you guys create 2 groups of Skittles, but I want one of the groups to have more Skittles than the other. So students would have their bag of Skittles, and they could really just play around with the manipulatives in order to create their groups. So I'm just going to grab some randomly and kind of figure out what numbers I want to do. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 Skittles over here. did that one-to-one correspondence again, kind of slid them around. I was able to move them around how I liked to make sure I was counting correctly, and then I can do the same on the other side. But I know I want a bigger amount of Skittles, so I'm gonna have to create a group that's larger than 8. So again, your students could kind of just play around with them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So already we know that group 1 is bigger than group 8 just because we did that one-to-one correspondence as we were sliding the Skittles into the circle, as we were tapping on them physically. So again, just have your students, you could say, can you justify to me why one group is bigger? And then they would have to go back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one has 10. So they would write 10 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. So they could, again, compare the visual models to the numerals and be able to tell you that this group is bigger than or greater than this group. Okay, so when we have big quantities like this that can be a little bit harder to keep track of what we've already counted, we can actually group the colors by number with our students and have them count along with us. So since we mentioned that every Skittle is equal to 1 no matter what color it is, we can group Skittles up by color just to make the counting a little bit more digestible. So we can start with purple over here. We see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 purples. And then we can add the greens. We can start from 4. So we already have 4 here, so let's count onward. 5, 6, 7. So now we have 7 total. We can do the reds. We can start from 7. So we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now we're at 12. Get all the yellows out. Start at 13, 14, 15, 16, and then lastly we have our 4 oranges. So starting from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we know that circle had 20 Skittles total. Now we can do the same thing on this side. So we can take out all of the green Skittles first, because like we said, every Skittle, no matter what color it is equal to 1. So we could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 green Skittles, so starting from 6, we can add the 4 red. 7, 8, 9, 10, so now we're at 10. And then the 2 yellow, 11, 12. 2 oranges, 13, 14. And lastly, our purples, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you can tell your students, okay, we had 20 over here and 19 over here in this group. So which circle had the bigger amount of objects? And they would tell you group 2. Which group had the less amount of objects? Which one had the least amount of objects? They would tell you group 1. So just really grouping up the Skittles made it a little bit easier to count such a large number of small objects.
So just kind of to debrief this how-to, Skittles work because they're easy to manipulate and move around, especially when kindergartners are trying to learn to count and compare numbers, just because you can easily group them together based on color or just physically tap on them when it comes to that one-to-one correspondence. I hope you guys enjoyed this how-to video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!